Yo guys, and welcome back for another Arknights Endfield video. Today we're going to be talking about Umbral Monument, which is the end game activity for Arknights Endfield. I have now completed it on my main account and even attempted it on a very low account with level 40 characters. I want to talk about it and kind of go over my overall experience and thoughts on the system and rewards and stuff. So we'll go ahead and jump right into it. Okay, so first, my initial thoughts about the actual game mode. So I think this is actually probably my favorite iteration of this different tower or floor type activity. And it's actually pretty simple why. All the other games that I played, all the other gotchas that I played, whether it be Wuthering Waves or Genshin Impact or whatever, they always have this same kind of activity, but then they rate you based on how fast you do the activity. So in this one, you have the 10 minutes, just like every other game. And in that 10 minutes, in other games, if you beat it within 3 minutes, let's say, you'd get 3 stars. Or if you beat it within 7 minutes, you would get 1 star or whatever. But in Arknights Endfield, it seems like as long as you beat it, you're good. And I actually really like that approach. I do wish that they would kind of expand on it a little bit, but hear me out first. I've always thought the timer being kind of whatever didn't really make sense. And if you want the timer to be any kind of actual indicator, or if you want to give like whales an incentive to spend, then just make a leaderboard. It doesn't even have to be anything with rewards or anything. Just make a leaderboard and then give the rewards for regular completion. So in Wuthering Waves or Genshin Impact, if you take longer than I believe 6 minutes out of the 10 minutes that they give you, you get basically nothing. So there's not really a reason to even give the player that much time if they're going to get nothing. It should either just be you beat it in 3 minutes or you don't, I think, in terms of the rewards. And I think what they try to do is they try to say, at least with Wuthering Waves, I think Genshin Impact didn't work like this last time I played, but at least with Wuthering Waves, they're like, oh, well, if you beat it within 6 minutes, you still get some amount of rewards. But, you know, if it takes longer than that, then you're kind of SOL. Again, I'm not really a big fan of that. I don't really like the fact that like there's a timer within a timer. It doesn't really make sense. And then also, like I said, it just doesn't feel good. It also makes me feel like I'm more inclined to make teams that only focus on doing the highest amount of damage. Whereas now in this kind of activity with Arknights Endfield, I think you're much more okay building whatever kind of team you want. Maybe you want to build a comfy team that can clear the content without dying. Maybe you want to play a full DPS team and you just want to keep re-rolling for the most optimal run possible. Whatever the case may be, you can actually totally do that and it doesn't really hurt you here. So I mentioned that the team compositions feel like they can be a little more comfy because the DPS check isn't that tight. I do feel like you can go for a more comfy composition. You can just bring Ardelia and not have to worry about losing out on some additional damage. But at the same token, we can also change our builds. So previously I was wondering if maybe we would need to min-max all of our damage dealers to be doing the absolute maximum damage. But I think that that's not actually necessary either. Of course, you can still do that if you want to. So for example, Lavitane has 2 different builds. One with the Lynx slab, I believe, and the other with another chest piece that helps you get more ultimate gain. And so the ultimate gain chest piece is supposed to be less damage overall because the Lynx slab is so strong. However, I do think I'm going to be switching to that other build. It does allow me to have an easier rotation into my ultimate and just have better ult uptime, in my opinion, overall, because I have that flexibility and I don't have to worry about min-maxing all the damage. You know, if I'm losing out of 5, 10%, even 15% damage, it doesn't really matter to me all that much as long as I get to enjoy my gameplay more on a regular basis. And again, because I had so much additional time left when I beat the activity, it doesn't really matter, right? It doesn't matter if I have 7.5 minutes left or if I have 7 minutes left or if I have 6 minutes left. All these things don't really matter as long as you can clear the activity. So in my opinion, you might as well go for a more comfy comp and gear build. So when it does come to the regular version of these activities, what they seem to be right now is level 60 versions. I don't really think the healing requirement is all that high. So I think you could use someone like Gilberta or Zaihi or Ember or whatever just fine. However, as you do get into Agony, unless you're gonna have the perfect run, I feel like right now Ardelia is necessary, and it is not a contest. It is like she is by far and away necessary for these encounters. Now, the first two encounters, you might be able to use something else and get away with it. The problem being is on the last floor, you fight two bosses one at a time, and then after you beat both of them, then they both join. So if you're using someone like Gilberta, you have no healing for either of those first two, and then you do if you can manage to hit both of them at the same time for the final part of the encounter. But I found that to be pretty not easy, and it was doable, but it wasn't like I was doing it on a regular basis, and definitely not often enough to warrant the small amount of healing that I feel like my Gilberta gives right now. So I ultimately think that Ardelia is, like I said, necessary if you want to push these agony level Umbral momentum. However, I do feel like, actually, weirdly enough, my evaluation of Ember has increased significantly. Now, I don't have a built Ember for endgame, but if I did, I can imagine that her ultimate game would probably be something that I would actually focus on, and then also her like HP and stuff for the healing and shield value and everything like that. So I think that actually Ember suddenly has a place here. So what we're gonna find out is eventually on the second account, the Ember and Chen account, how viable that ultimately ends up being. That account just got Ember's signature weapon, so that's definitely going to help a lot too. But I'm purposely going to try not to build Ardelia there. I'll probably build her on the side, but she's not going to be the focus, and ideally I will try not to use her. Anyway, I feel like right now, like I said in my previous video, I thought Ardelia was going to end up having a pretty important spot in doing these activities, and I think that that has actually been very, very true. And again, you know, on the first two floors, maybe you can get away with using Gilberta as a healer or something, but I think Ardelia is just going to be a staple. Now, if you're doing a last right team and you're using like Gilberta and Zaihi or something, you know, I could see a world where that actually has enough upkeep to keep you up and sustained. I don't know what Zaihi's healing is like, but I've heard it's pretty good. So maybe she as an overall sustainer can also be in that group of Ardelia and Ember. But yeah, I do feel like, you know, my evaluation of maybe Gilberta has dropped a little bit. And then I also think that the shields from Ember could be more valuable than I had previously imagined. Now, I just want to mention that I did attempt this with my brand new, just hit like level 30 or 31 account, and I still have level 40 characters and stuff like that. Obviously, the 40 characters aren't a great matchup against level 60 enemies, but I did attempt it, and I will say, at least for the first floor, I was able to clear all the way to the boss. However, the boss just started destroying my teammates and somehow managed to kill my Ember first, which was not a great experience. But each attempt I did make on this did take a lot of time. I think I was well into the 5-minute territory by the time I got the boss to come out. So this kind of stuff seems like it actually could be doable even at a lower level, but it's gonna take you a lot of the time. But I think that that's ultimately a good thing, and again, it should probably be used to encourage you to level up, because those level 40 characters are not stacking up against those level 60s. I imagine when you're on item level with them, or you're on level with them, like level 60 for level 60, it's probably a lot better experience. But I did just want to throw that out there, that you could attempt it earlier. You can attempt this as soon as you hit level 30 for the most part, and that's when you can unlock the Umbral momentum anyway. All right, so now all that stuff being said about the activity, I think it's worth having a conversation about the rewards. It's kind of hard to judge how much the rewards are good or bad at the moment, because we don't have the other parts of the activity. When you look at it, it seems very obvious that there's two more parts that are missing from this activity, but I would say right now the rewards feel very lackluster. Now, it's great in terms of the fire crowns, especially for free-to-play players, because you don't really have access to those in any other way other than the shop from the currency of like pulling characters and buying the premium battle pass. But these flame crowns seem to not really have much like access, and so hopefully this kind of activity will be a good source of those in the long run. We'll have to ultimately wait and see. But in terms of the pull currency, it felt a little lackluster. So I think I read online that it gives you about 1200 pull currency, and you can kind of just calculate it out from the actual event. Looking at it, there's no like hidden rewards or anything like that. And 1200 currency when you need 5000 for a single 10 pull is a little rough. So I think in terms of where that puts it in comparison to other games is not on the very generous side. So hopefully this is going to change with those others too. If they all three, give, 3600 currency together and they all reset, we'll have to wait and see. I'm also not sure that what we have right now is the stuff that is going to reset. So I think we'll have to just wait and see a little bit more on the reward structure and see how that's going to change, because I feel like what they're doing is I feel like they're time gating it. And they're not giving us the stuff that's going to reset yet, but we'll have to, like I said, wait and see. So try and take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. I know a lot of people are kind of flaming the rewards there, but until we know what it really looks like and have a full picture, I think it's maybe a little bit too early to really like get the pitchforks out kind of thing, but I do wish that it would be a little more rewarding. I think honestly, a game like this that has this weird gacha system, I would really like to see them every single time it resets to give a guaranteed 10 pull. I think 5000 should be a minimum from where it starts. And to be honest, that's not even a lot. If you need 120 pulls to guarantee a character, a single 10 pull every reset of this. Now, if they reset it every week or something, obviously it's different, but most things are going to reset like every 3 weeks or once a month or something. So I feel like that would be a little more acceptable, and that would be kind of the ballpark that I would be shooting for. And again, part of that is just because I don't think the gacha system in this game is very good. I know it has a lot of bonuses and stuff like that, and we'll talk about that in another video, but overall I think the 120 to guarantee a character and it doesn't go from banner to banner is just a rough spot to be in. Well, that's gonna be it for us today. Thank you guys so much. If you guys enjoyed the video, give the video a like down below, subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more stuff like this, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.